Hey there! Tonight we're not going back to kings and castles. We're riding west, past the railroad towns and dusty crossroads, out into a land where the maps run out and the rules get rewritten. This isn't the wild west of movie screens and polished spurs. This is the raw, cracked, wind-bitten truth. The version with lice in your hat and blood in your boots. Being a cowboy wasn't heroic. It wasn't romantic. It was dirt, hunger, heat stroke, and a knife under your pillow in case someone came for your horse in the night. And you're about to try it, just for a day. If this kind of gritty, slow-burning history helps you relax, breathe deeper, or drift off, then hey, subscribe. But only if it brings you peace. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. It's oddly comforting to know who else is out there, falling asleep to the same rough story. So grab a blanket, let the room fade, pretend the creak of your ceiling is a horse settling down beside you, and let's begin where the land opens wide and the sun never blinks. Let me know when you're ready for Chapter 1. Waking up in the dust, your first hour on the range. Waking up in the dust, your first hour on the range. You're not in a bed. There's no mattress, no pillow, just the weight of a horse blanket thrown over your shoulders and the uneven push of earth beneath your ribs. The fire you fell asleep next to is down to its last whisper of heat, and the chill bites through your coat like a wolf testing for weakness. Morning out here doesn't rise gently, it slaps you in the face. The sky is a pale bruise above the horizon, and everything, your boots, your back, your breath, is stiff. You slept with your boots on because if you didn't, there's a good chance you'd never get them back on. You've got no tent, no roof, just open sky and the stink of cattle drifting in from the edge of camp. Your hat's crooked on your head, and there's something crawling inside it. You flick it away without thinking. You don't have time to be squeamish. Your horse, tied to a bent mesquite, eyes you like you owe him something, and maybe you do. He carried you 40 miles yesterday and nearly threw a shoe in the arroyo. You mutter something half-hearted and feed him a chunk of dry biscuit from your pocket. You'd save that for yourself if you had more, but you don't. The chuck wagon is still a mile back with the rest of the crew, and the cook doesn't get up before the sun. You chew a sliver of jerky that tastes like old leather just to have something in your mouth. Then comes the sound you've come to hate. The boss's whistle. Sharp, short, no patience. You're already late. You pull yourself up. Every joint protests. Your knees ache from the ride yesterday, and your fingers are swollen. The air is dry, but everything feels damp with exhaustion. You saddle your horse without speaking, cinch the straps until he snorts, and swing your leg over like it's the first time, not the 100th. You ride. No coffee, no water, no conversation, just dust. So much of it you can feel it lining your throat, settling in your ears. It coats your clothes, your horse, the inside of your soul. It never leaves. You pass the rest of the crew, 5 or 6 of them, already rounding up strays. No one says, "Good morning." That's not how it works out here. Every word you speak wastes moisture and time. You nod once, and that's enough. A calf breaks from the herd. You take off after it, and just like that, your day begins. By sunrise, your shirt is soaked in sweat. By mid-morning, your mouth feels like cotton. And by noon, you'll be wondering how anyone ever romanticized this life in the first place. Welcome to the Wild West. Saddle sores and snake bites, the pain you didn't see coming. Your thighs are raw, not just sore, not just tired, raw, as if the saddle itself has grown teeth and decided to gnaw at your flesh from the inside out. You shift your weight, lean forward, sit back. Nothing helps. Every jolt of the horse drives the pain deeper. The problem is, you can't stop. You've got 40 more cattle to turn before the sun's high, and the boss doesn't take kindly to stragglers. You're not just riding anymore, you're enduring. The saddle digs in where bone meets muscle, where leather rubs skin raw, and the only salve you'll find is grit, and even that's wearing thin. Your hands don't look like yours anymore. The skin is cracked from holding reins, sun-scorched and blistered along the knuckles. Rope burns cross your palms like someone took a branding iron and traced out a warning. It stings every time you grip the horn, which is always. Then there are the snakes. You don't see the first one, not until your horse rears. His front hooves lash the air and you nearly go flying. You manage to stay on, barely. The snake slithers off into a bush, annoyed but alive. You are too. But the jolt shoots pain through your lower back, and the trembling in your arms doesn't go away. Later, another rider isn't so lucky. He doesn't scream when he gets bit. He just goes pale, slumps off his horse, and mutters something about a bad one. They cut open the bite with a knife and try to suck the venom out, but no one really knows if it helps. The guy's lips turn purple by nightfall. He doesn't ride the next day. You'll be honest with yourself. You've thought about quitting already, but there's nowhere to go. No town nearby, no train station, just dirt, cows, and the same relentless wind that carries the stink of animal sweat and your own fear. You catch yourself dreaming of shoes without spurs, of sitting somewhere, anywhere, that isn't moving underneath you, of food you didn't have to earn with blood and saddle rash, of water that doesn't taste like rust and regret. But then your horse jerks left, the cattle break into a run, and you've got no time for fantasies. This is the job. This is the pain. And out here, pain doesn't make you special. It just means you're still breathing. Eating dirt and beans, what's really for dinner on the trail, by the time the sun begins to fold itself into the horizon, you're more bone than man. Your legs feel like they've fused to the horse. Your tongue's thick in your mouth and your stomach has stopped complaining. Not because it's full, but because it's given up hope. The cattle are finally penned. The other cowboys dismount without speaking, moving like ghosts in the orange dusk. The cook's fire has been going for an hour, and you follow the smell like it's the only thing tethering you to life. But don't get your hopes up. That smell, it's beans. Again. You settle cross-legged near the chuck wagon, where a dented pot bubbles over open flame. No plates, just a tin bowl passed your way and a large spoon that's probably seen more mouths than a preacher on a Sunday. You eat in silence, one scoop at a time, each bite hot enough to scald and bland enough to disappoint. There's bacon grease in the mix today, a rare treat. Or maybe it's just yesterday's bacon runoff. Doesn't matter. You eat every last bite. You're offered coffee, if you can call it that. It's thick, black and slightly gritty, brewed strong enough to wake the dead, or at least to keep your eyelids from sagging when the night watch rolls around. You sip it slow and try not to taste the grounds. Around you, the others grunt, stretch, spit. No one talks much. They've got nothing to prove, and the silence says more than words ever could. One cowboy pulls a harmonica from his coat and plays a tune that makes the wind pause, just for a second. It's sad, haunting, the kind of song that sounds like it's been riding the trail longer than any of you. You lean back and feel the grit in your boots, the ash in your lungs, the dull ache in your shoulders. This isn't dinner, it's refueling. Just enough to get you through the night, and you'll need it, because as the fire dies and the stars blink open overhead, you remember you've got first watch tonight. You don't get to sleep yet. You just get to stare into the dark, listen to the distant low of cattle, and pray nothing with claws or fangs decides tonight's the night to test your reflexes. Out here, dinner's not a comfort. It's a pause between punishments. Midnight watch, when the silence tries to kill you. The fire is down to glowing bones, everyone else is asleep, or pretending to be. Their shapes blend into the land, rolled in blankets like mounds of earth. You're sitting upright, your back against a wagon wheel, eyes stinging from smoke and exhaustion. It's your turn to watch. No one asked if you were ready. No one handed you a weapon or wished you luck. It was just a nod, and now here you are, alone in a sea of dark, holding a rusted rifle and trying to stay awake. And the silence, it's not peaceful. It's loud, too loud. You hear everything. The shifting of hooves, the groan of leather, the distant snap of something too big to be wind. Your brain, already stretched thin from the day's ride, starts making shapes out of shadows. You swear something moved just past the outer ring of light. Was that a coyote? A rustler? A mountain lion? Your heart taps faster than your brain can reason. You grip the rifle tighter. There's no training here, no drills. If something comes, you react or you don't. And if you don't, it's not just you, it's the horses, the cattle, maybe even the other cowboys. Out here, mistakes cost more than embarrassment. They bleed. You try to stay sharp. You shift positions, rub your face, whisper to yourself. Anything to stay present. Because if you doze off, even for a second, the next noise you hear might be your last. An owl calls. A pack of coyotes yip in the distance, then quiet again. The kind that presses on your skull. You start talking to yourself. Anything to keep from thinking too hard. You mutter your name, then count backward. You hum the same hymn your grandmother sang in a different life, far away from this dust. And just when the silence starts to feel like it's wrapping around your neck, a breeze kicks up. The horses stir but don't spook. You breathe again. One more minute survived. You check the stars. Still hours left before someone relieves you. You want to hate them for sleeping, but you can't. You'll need their eyes tomorrow, same as they'll need yours tonight. Out here, the dark isn't empty. It's patient, and as you sit on your own little island of flickering orange, everything you've ever feared feels just a few steps beyond the firelight. Waiting. Blisters, blood and branding irons, the job that breaks you. The sun's not even up when the work begins again. There's no bell, no rooster, just a rough voice kicking your boot and telling you it's time. You haven't slept, not really, and your muscles protest as you rise. Every joint feels older than it should, every movement met with resistance from a body that isn't used to this kind of demand. Your fingers curl like rusted hinges. You slept in your boots because there's no time to lace them when a cow bolts, and now your toes feel numb. The saddle sores you earned yesterday haven't healed. They've spread. Today is branding day. The cattle are corralled, restless. The iron is heating in the coals, the metal darkening, then glowing red like the eye of some slow-burning god. You smell it before it's even pressed to hide. That mix of smoke, scorched hair, and muscle, cooked just long enough to make your stomach knot. Your job? Drive the steer in. Hold it steady. Avoid the hooves. Easier said than done. The first calf rears back, eyes wide with panic. You and two others wrestle it down, your boots sliding in the muck. One of them curses as a horn grazes his leg, but he holds. You grab the back legs, plant yourself like a stone and brace. The hiss of iron on skin is louder than it should be. So is the animal's cry. You try not to flinch, but something in you recoils anyway. A soft part that still remembers comfort, softness, the idea that pain should be avoided. That part doesn't last long out here. You go again, and again, dozens of times. Your hands swell, your arms burn, sweat stings your eyes. You're covered in grime, not sure if it's blood or mud. Doesn't matter. The job keeps going. By midday, Your shirt sticks to your back like a second skin. The smell of charred hide has soaked into everything. You can't scrub it out of your mind. It lingers long after the fire has died down and the cattle have settled, branded, marked forever with a curl of smoke and a scream. And no one thanks you. No one offers praise. Out here, a job well done just means you're not dead. Tonight, you'll sleep harder, or pass out trying, but the smell will follow you, into your dreams, into your next meal, into the next morning, where some other cruelty will wait, disguised as just another chore. Welcome to the West, where pain isn't a punishment, it's the routine. When town means trouble, saloon nights and guns in the dark, the cattle are fed, the fire's out, and someone mentions town. It's 10 dusty miles away, a speck of wood and whiskey wedged between nowhere and regret. You climb into the saddle, soar in places you didn't know you had, and follow the trail in a line of men who haven't seen a real bed or a woman in 3 months. By the time you ride in, the sun's setting behind the false front buildings, and a piano's already playing, off-key, half-hearted. The town's nothing but 2 cross streets and a dozen chances to ruin your life, and you feel every one of them breathing down your neck. You tie your horse with the others and walk into the saloon. It smells like sweat, beer, perfume and fear, all sloshed together and left to stew under swinging lanterns. The floor sticks to your boots. There's laughter, but no one's really laughing. It's the kind of sound men make when they're just trying not to break. You take a seat near the back. Someone buys a round. The beer is warm and thin, but it does what it needs to. Another cowboy gets into a poker game. Another disappears upstairs with a girl who looks 10 years older than her face. You try not to think about it, about her, about them, about what it takes to survive here. The piano player glances over his shoulder every few seconds, like he knows what you know, that a song here can be a prelude to a fight, that a joke told too loud could earn you a knife between the ribs. You sip slow, try to be invisible, but you're not from here, and they can smell it. One glance too long, one wrong word, and suddenly the table next to you goes quiet. A man with a faded hat and a scar down his lip stands. He's not big, but the room bends around him. His hand hovers near his belt. You stare at your drink, your chest tightens. Then, like a breeze passing through the tension, someone laughs, loud and slurred, and the moment passes. Cards shuffle, dice roll. The piano starts again. You exhale, but the fear doesn't leave. It clings to you like smoke, trailing behind every step you take back to the horse, back out of town, back into the dark. You don't speak on the ride. No one does. It's understood. Town is temptation. Town is danger. Town is where men vanish or come back changed. And you survived it, this time. Broken saddles and busted bones. The pain of the ride never ends. The saddle creaks under your weight as you climb up again. Your thighs scream, your back crackles like firewood, but you grit your teeth and find your seat. The trail doesn't care about your pain, neither does the foreman barking orders before the morning fog has even lifted. You ride. Every step your horse takes is a lesson in discomfort. There's no shock absorption, no soft cushioning. Just leather, sweat and bone grinding against bone as the hours stretch longer than the road itself. Your spine becomes a question mark. Your wrists go numb. Sometimes it's the wind, sometimes it's the heat, but mostly it's the rattling rhythm of hooves and harness, hour after hour, day after day, a slow form of punishment disguised as travel. You've already worn through your first pair of gloves. The reins bite harder with each pull. Dust cakes your lips and gums. When you finally stop to water the horses, you stagger like a drunk. Your legs forgot how to stand without rocking. And then there's the terrain. One wrong move on a rocky pass and your horse slips. You're down before you know it, the ground rushing up like a slap. Your shoulder takes the worst of it. You lie there for a second, staring at the sky, wondering if something's broken or if this is just what broken feels like now. The others barely look back. You mount again, because what choice do you have? That's the cowboy way. You don't stop. You don't complain. You just keep moving forward, even if every part of you is telling you to lie down and disappear into the dust. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes the saddle actually breaks, a leather strap snapping from age and sweat. And when that happens mid-ride, the fall can tear a man open. Collarbones, ribs. Worse if your foot gets caught in the stirrup. You hear stories of men being dragged until there's nothing left but red and pulp, of spines twisted for life, of cowboys turned into shadows of themselves because a horse stumbled and fate decided it was their day to suffer. And still, you climb back up, because the only thing worse than the ride is not riding, not pulling your weight, not keeping up, not being seen as one of the men. You bite down the pain, you tie the reins, you ride on. Because out here, you're not judged by how you fall, but how fast you get back in the saddle, bleeding or not. Storms, stampedes, and skyfire. Nature's way of trying to kill you, the wind shifts. You feel it before you see it. A dry silence, then a sudden cool edge curling around your neck. It cuts through your shirt like a whisper of something terrible coming. You scan the horizon. Flat, too flat, and then thunder. Not from the sky, from the earth. The cattle feel it first. Their heads jerk up, ears twitch. Then they start to move, slow at first, then faster. Eyes wide, legs trembling. One bellows, another follows. Then it happens. A single spooked steer turns into a river of panic. Hooves pounding like war drums, horns flashing like blades. The ground shakes under you. You barely have time to react. You grab your rope, kick your heels, and hold on. Stampede. The sky goes brown with dust. The noises all around you, a roar, a scream, a wave of muscle and fear that could flatten a man in seconds. You can't think, you just move. You ride hard, faster than you've ever ridden, yelling, circling, waving your hat, trying to turn the herd before it crushes the camp, the gear, your friends. One misstep, one slip of your horse, and you're dead. Not just dead, gone. Nothing left but a smear in the dirt, and the storm isn't even here yet, because after the stampede comes the rain. Not gentle rain, not city rain, but sky-tearing, bone-soaking, soul-drowning rain. The kind that makes rivers where there were none, that drowns fires and floods wagons, that turns every trail into a trap. Lightning flashes, too close. You feel it in your teeth. Thunder hits a second later, shaking your ribs. Horses panic again. You scream to calm them, but you're just another sound swallowed by the storm. You're soaked. Clothes clinging to your skin, boots full of mud, hat ripped off your head by the wind. Your hands are slipping on the reins. You can't see more than 10 feet in any direction. Everything's noise and chaos. And when night comes, it gets worse. Because the storm doesn't care if you're tired. The cattle don't either. They might run again, or scatter, or die. And if they do, you chase them, through the dark, through the storm, because that's your job. Out here, nature is not a backdrop. It's a threat, a wild, unpredictable beast that never rests. One day it gives you sunlight. The next, it tries to drown you, fry you, or bury you in a thunder-driven wall of hooves. And you just hang on. The unseen enemy, disease, rot, and the filth that follows you. It starts with an itch, a spot on your arm that wasn't there yesterday. Red, swollen. Maybe from a bite, maybe from the saddle, maybe from nothing at all. You scratch, it burns, but you don't have time to care, because cowboy life doesn't pause for fevers, and out here, hygiene is more of a wish than a reality. You haven't bathed in weeks. Not properly. There's water, sure, creeks, rivers, ponds, but they're for the horses, for drinking, for surviving. Washing is a luxury. Soap is rare. Hot water, fantasy. So you do what the others do. Rinse your hands in mud, scrape the dirt off with a knife, ignore the smell. And the smell, it follows you. A mix of old sweat, wet leather, horsehair, tobacco, and something sour you can't name. It soaks into your clothes, your bedroll, your very skin. You stop noticing it after a while. Everyone does. But it doesn't stop the sickness. One man coughs, then another. Then someone starts hacking up blood. You sleep beside these men, eat from the same pan, share the same flask. Germs don't care if you're tough. They move quiet, invisible. No doctors coming, no medicine, no clean bandages, no rest. There's rot too, from the inside out. A tooth goes bad and poisons your blood. A small cut festers, turns black at the edges. You watch a man's hand swell up like a boiled sausage after he nicked it gutting a deer. He hides it for days. By the time anyone sees it, it's too late. He loses the hand, then he loses the fight. And the flies. They're not just annoying, they're dangerous. They settle on wounds, on food, on eyes. They carry filth from one man's spit to another's open blister. You swat them away until your hands cramp. Some cowboys wear scarves, not for style, but to breathe through the stink of rot and manure. Others chew tobacco constantly, claiming it keeps sickness at bay. Superstition and spit, that's your medicine. You don't talk about it much. About the fear of waking up blind, or watching your skin go strange, or feeling the fever crawl up from your spine like a second spine made of fire. You just keep moving. Because cowboys die from bullets in songs, but in real life, they die from infected blisters, from drinking bad water, from sleeping too close to a sick horse. Out here, the enemy isn't always wearing a gun. Sometimes it's crawling under your skin before you even know it's there. Trust no. 1. Lies, cheats, and the men who'd kill you for a horse. You hear the story before you live it. A man rides into town with 2 horses and leaves with none. Another walks into a saloon with a coin pouch and wakes up bleeding in a ditch. The West runs on stories like these, and every one of them's true. You learn it fast. Never turn your back. Not on a stranger. Not on a friend too long without a name. Not even on a partner who's shared your fire for a week. Out here, trust is a currency rarer than gold, and it buys betrayal more often than safety. You ride into a new camp. The fire crackles, beans boil, and smiles are quick. Too quick. A man offers you a drink. You take it with your eyes wide open. You check your saddle before sleep. You tie your horse tighter than you'd tie a noose. Because the second you let your guard down, someone sees it as opportunity. Maybe it's the drifter who waits until nightfall, then cuts your horse loose and vanishes into the dark. Maybe it's the quiet one with kind eyes and calloused hands, who swaps your canteen with one full of creek water and watches as the dysentery eats you alive. You'd like to think it won't happen to you. But then it does. Maybe it's at the card table. You're 3 hands in, just warming up, and the man across from you, slick hat, slower grin, is running the table like he owns it. You win once, you win twice, he doesn't blink. Then someone accuses you of cheating. You didn't. Doesn't matter. Guns come out. Not over money, over pride. There's always a grudge, always a deal gone bad. Cattle stolen in the night, fences cut, a trail hand vanishing with someone's wages stuffed in his boot. There are no cops, no courts, just fast hands and quicker horses. Outlaws don't wear black, they wear whatever you're wearing. And maybe worst of all, you get used to it. You stop asking names. You learn to sleep with one eye open and a knife near your ribs. You don't share your real story. You don't tell where you're going or what you've got, because words are fuel, and the wrong one sparks fire. Out here, survival isn't just about grit or strength. It's about suspicion, about understanding that the West is full of smiling wolves and quiet vultures. Some wear badges, some wear boots. All of them want something, and you better not be the one holding it, because in the Wild West the law's whatever a man can take and keep. Trail, 12 food, and boot soup. Why eating was sometimes worse than starving. You thought the hunger would be the worst part, but you didn't expect the taste. The first thing you learn on the trail is that food isn't about flavor, it's about fuel, and even that's unreliable. You wake before the sun, stomach already gnawing at itself, hoping today the cook's got something more than a chunk of hard biscuit and a strip of beef jerky so old it could serve as leather. Let's talk about the biscuit. It's called hardtack. Looks like a thick cracker, feels like a rock, tastes like sawdust. You don't bite it, not unless you want to snap a tooth. You soak it in coffee, if you've got any, in water, if you're desperate, or you hammer it into crumbs and pretend it's bread. And the coffee, if you're lucky, it's hot. If you're unlucky, it's mostly grounds and grit. Either way, it's bitter, burned and strong enough to scrape the rust off your soul. Then there's the meat, salted beef, not fresh, not tender, not forgiving. It's dried stiff like a strip of bark. You chew until your jaw aches. It smells like old sweat and wood smoke, and sometimes it wriggles, because preservation wasn't always perfect. You eat what doesn't move. Beans, if you've got them, but not the kind you're thinking of. These aren't rich and seasoned. These are boiled, bland, often scorched on the bottom and half raw on top. The pot's never clean. You scrape one day's crust into the next. Seasoning? That's a luxury. You've got salt maybe, sometimes pepper, but mostly just ash and hope. And when even that runs out, you get creative. You boil your boots, real leather, not the synthetic kind. Slice it thin, simmer it for hours, chew it like tough noodles. It fills the space in your belly. Doesn't mean it helps. You'll still wake up dizzy, legs trembling, thinking about pies and roasts you'll never see again. Then there's the wild stuff. You've eaten rattlesnake, not because you wanted to, but because it crossed your path. Tough, stringy, barely worth the spit it takes to swallow. You've trapped prairie dogs, roasted frogs, and gnawed on roots that may or may not be poison. Every meal is a gamble. You don't count calories. You count the days since your last proper bowel movement. You weigh the risk of dysentery against the pain of another empty night. And if someone offers you stew, you don't ask what's in it. You just eat and pray it doesn't bite back. Because in the Wild West, food is war. A slow, grinding, flavorless war that leaves your gut hollow and your hands always reaching for something, anything to chew on. A life without comfort. Why pain was just part of the uniform. You try to shift in your saddle just a little. Your thighs burn, your back cracks. Your tailbone feels like it's been hammered with a mallet. There's no cushioning. Not on this saddle. It's cracked leather, stiff with sweat and sun, and it digs into you like it has a grudge. You think a break would help. There are no breaks. Cowboy life means riding sun-up to sundown and beyond. And when you're not riding, you're standing. And when you're not standing, you're crouched near a fire, trying to cook with numb fingers and a spine bent from labour. There's a reason cowboys move slow. Not because it was cool, but because they hurt. All the time. Your boots chafe your ankles raw. Your hands crack open from rope burn and cold wind. Your knees lock after long rides. and your shoulders grind with every lift of the saddle. You get blisters that pop, scab, and pop again. You don't treat them. There's nothing to treat them with. You wear the same clothes for weeks. Wool shirts that itch when dry and freeze when wet. Pants stiff with dust and sweat. A hat that used to keep out the sun, now warped from rain and heat and the occasional fist fight. You smell like smoke, horses, and something worse. And when night comes, that's when the real discomfort begins. You lay down on cold earth, using your saddle as a pillow and your blanket as a joke. Every rock finds your ribs. Every breeze finds a hole in your coat. You sleep curled up, boots on, hoping nothing crawls into your mouth or your bedroll. Comfort isn't just rare, it's suspicious. A warm bath must be dreaming. A soft bed, you'd think you died. Even sitting in a chair feels like royalty. You learn to treasure small mercies, a patch of dry grass, a clear sky, a day without a fresh bruise, and you never stop hurting. Your joints ache, your knuckles swell, your skin burns, flakes and splits. You wrap yourself in whatever you can find, not for style, but for survival. Pain becomes a second skin. You stop talking about it. Everyone's hurting. No one complains. What's the point? There's work to do, cattle to move, miles to cover, rain coming in. So you grit your teeth. You wince quietly, and you keep moving. Because the truth is, in the Wild West, comfort is a thing for the rich and the dead. And you're neither. You're just one more aching body on a horse that doesn't care. Firearms, misfires, and the myth of the cowboy shootout. You've seen it in movies. The lone cowboy, hand resting near his revolver, facing off in the sun-bleached street. A sharp shot, one man down, silence. That's fiction. Here's reality. The gun is heavy, the aim is bad, and most of the time the thing doesn't even fire right. You've got a six-shooter. It's old, rust-stained with a grip worn smooth by calloused fingers. It misfires every third shot. Powder fouls the barrel, the cylinder sticks. When you clean it, which isn't often, you're guessing how the parts fit together. There's no instruction manual, just hope and superstition. You think you'll be fast. You're not. Drawing a gun from a hip holster under pressure is like trying to thread a needle with shaking hands while someone throws rocks at your head. You fumble, you sweat, you forget everything in that split second that counts. And even if you fire, then what? The bullet might miss, might jam, might graze your target and make them angrier than before. These aren't laser-sighted precision tools. These are clunky, unreliable hunks of iron that explode in your hand and hope something goes forward. And if you're lucky enough to hit, it's not clean. A bullet doesn't drop a man like a sack of flour. He screams, bleeds, sometimes keeps shooting, sometimes begs. Sometimes you hear nothing but the thud of him hitting the dirt, and then the silence eats you alive. Gunfights aren't quick, they're messy, loud, confusing. You don't square off in the middle of a town like some kind of duel. You shoot from behind barrels, from porches, from behind a horse if it comes to that. Anyone standing out in the open is either drunk, desperate, or already dead. And when it's over, you're shaking. Your ears ring. You don't feel cool. You feel hollow. You think about what could have gone wrong, about the cost of one misstep, about the bullet you'll have to dig out of your thigh if it went poorly. There's no surgeon here, just whiskey and grit. The truth is, cowboys didn't live by the gun. They survived in spite of it. Most avoided fights if they could. It wasn't fear, it was math. One bullet wound could ruin your life. You didn't recover. You limped, infected, or bled out. So you walk into town with your hand near your belt, not because you're itching for a fight, but because you don't want to die before dinner. When the water turns bad, thirst, dysentery, and drinking from hell itself, you're parched, not just dry throat thirsty, but lips cracking, vision blurring, tongue thick in your mouth desperate. The kind of thirst that makes you eye a mud puddle and think, maybe, just maybe, you tip your canteen, empty, again. There's no clean tap, no bottled spring water. Out here, water means whatever you can find, if you can find it at all. Rivers are rare. Streams trickle dry. Wells, if they exist, they're already claimed, or so brackish you gag on the first swallow. So you ride and pray, to the clouds, to the wind, to anything that might bring a flash flood or a pocket of ground soft enough to dig. When you do find water, it's a gamble. A shallow pool, yellowed with dust and cow dung. A slow stream where dead things drift near the edge. You look at it, smell it, swirl it with a stick, and then drink anyway, because you have to. And almost every time, you pay for it. Your stomach twists first, a sharp cramp that wakes you in the night. Then the fire starts, in your gut, in your back, in the bowl of your belly that shouldn't burn like that. You double over, you groan, you pray it passes. It doesn't. Soon it's pouring out of you, hot, violent, unstoppable, dysentery. You've heard the word before, but now you feel it. Now you live it. You don't eat, can't hold it down. Every drop you drank is racing to leave, and it takes your strength with it. You've seen men die from this, strong ones. They shrivel, eyes sunken, skin waxy, lips caked with the dust they fell into. No bullets, no duels, no drama. Just a slow rot from within, delivered by the water meant to save them. But you can't not drink. It's the cruelest trap out here. The heat beats down. The trail stretches on. Your tongue dries and thickens until you can barely speak. You dream of rain, of snowmelt, of a clean glass. But all you have is what the horses piss beside. So you sip what you find and hope you're luckier this time. Sometimes you are. Sometimes it's just bitter, just dirty. And sometimes it betrays you, breaks your body, knocks you flat in the dust. There's no cure, just waiting, wrapped in a blanket that smells like mildew, staring at the sky, hoping the next waterhole is cleaner than this one. The night watch, coyotes, rustlers, and the fear that stalks you in the dark. The fires burn down to red coals now. It pops every few minutes like a cough in the stillness. But the real sound that keeps you awake is silence. Heavy, waiting, broken only by the soft shift of hooves or the wind dragging its feet through the grass. You're on night watch. You volunteered. Sort of. Everyone takes their turn. Tonight, it's yours. The others are asleep, if you can call that sleep. Wrapped in coats and bedrolls, hats over their faces, bodies stiff with days of labour. Their breathing is shallow, uneasy. Out here, no one really rests. You stay close to the fire, but not too close. Firelight draws eyes, and in the Wild West, you never want too many eyes on you after dark. Behind you, the herd shifts. The cattle know something's off. They twitch and low softly. Not alarmed yet, but ready. One loud crack, one wrong move, and they'll spook. You've seen it happen. A stampede in the blackness, hooves flashing, horns slicing the air. One of your men still limps from that night. You listen. Coyotes howl in the distance, shrill, hungry. You reach for your rifle. It's never far. Not because of coyotes. They're scavengers, mostly bark, but because of rustlers, men, human shadows that move like smoke and steal like ghosts. They wait for watchmen to doze off, or die. You squint into the dark. Was that a shape? Just a bush? The heat messes with your eyes. The cold plays tricks on your ears. You hear footsteps in the wind. You feel breath behind your neck that isn't there. You clutch your gun tighter. And what if they come? You fire once, maybe twice, then what? Are you sure it's not a bear, a lost rider, one of your own men. There's no luxury of warning shots. You aim, you shoot, and then deal with what you've done. The fire dims further. You feed it a stick, quietly. Just enough light to see by, not enough to become a target. You sip from your canteen, the water bitter and warm. You don't really need it, but the act calms your nerves. A ritual like scratching your beard or adjusting your belt. You count the stars. You tell yourself morning is close. But dawn feels like a rumor, the kind that dies before it reaches your ears. You tuck your scarf higher on your face. You shift your boots against the dirt, and you wait. One eye on the herd, one ear on the wind. Every muscle coiled, because in the Wild West the dark is alive, and if you're not watching, it's watching you. Broken trust, betrayals, brawls, and the price of a misunderstanding. You ride alongside men for weeks, eat from the same pot, share the same filthy blanket when the cold bites deep. You laugh together, curse together, work shoulder to shoulder in the muck and dust, and still, you don't really know them. Not truly. Out here, loyalty is thinner than smoke. The line between friend and enemy blurs fast when gold is mentioned, or cattle go missing, or someone says the wrong thing after too much whiskey. You're in camp, and it happens. A quiet word twisted wrong, a joke that cuts deeper than it should. You say something without thinking, or you don't say enough. The other cowboy stares at you too long. His hand twitches. The fire crackles between you like a warning. You brush it off. But the others are watching. Tension thickens like swamp air. You feel it in your gut, that old animal sense that says, get ready. Sometimes it's just a fist fight, the kind where two men circle, throw punches until blood spatters the dirt, and someone ends up spitting teeth. That's the best case outcome, because if it's worse, it's over in a blink. A knife flashes, a shot rings out, and someone is dead over a stolen saddle, or a jealous glance at a saloon girl, or nothing at all. And don't expect justice. There's no sheriff out here, no trial. Just men who decide what's fair. Maybe they bury the body. Maybe they ride off and leave him. Maybe they say it was self-defense and everyone nods like they believe it. You've seen it happen. You've helped cover the body, felt the heat of a fresh grave, heard the silence that follows, the kind that lasts for days. No one wants to talk about it, but they all remember. Now, every laugh feels hollow, every smile watched. You sleep with your knife closer. You stop turning your back. You stop sharing stories around the fire. And trust, it's a luxury. You begin to see everyone as a risk. That quiet guy who never speaks. What's he hiding? The loud one. Is he covering something up? You question every gift, every favor, because sometimes a shared drink is just poison with manners. You learn to watch people the way you watch the sky, constantly, cautiously, waiting for the next storm. It doesn't matter if you meant no harm. It doesn't matter if you were right. All it takes is one bad hour, one bad look, and the cowboy you thought had your back is the one standing over you with a gun still warm in his hand. The saloon trap. Booze, broken dreams, and the cost of one bad night. The doors swing open with that familiar creak. Inside, it's dark and thick with tobacco smoke. A single oil lamp swings from the ceiling, casting wild shadows on the warped floorboards. You step in, and it hits you. The stench of sweat, beer, and regret. This is the saloon. It's where cowboys go when they're too tired to care and too restless to stop. And tonight, you're one of them. The piano's out of tune, the keys pounded by a man with more rhythm than talent. A few girls laugh too loud near the back. Their faces are powdered but tired, smiles stretched like masks that have been worn too long. You order a drink, doesn't matter what. It's warm, cheap, and burns like poison. But that's the point. You're trying to forget. The trail dust still clings to your clothes. The ache in your legs is too deep to stretch out. That cough from this morning still rattles your chest. But here, under the dim light, with whiskey in your blood, it all goes quiet. For a moment, cards shuffle at the far table. You sit, join, lose, win, then lose again. The dealer doesn't blink. His hands are too fast, too smooth. You wonder if he's cheating. You wonder if you care. Then someone laughs too loud, or looks too long, or calls you something you don't like. And just like that, it turns. A chair scrapes back. A bottle smashes. Fists fly. Guns sometimes. You duck, crawl, throw a punch you don't even see land. Or you get hit first, knocked flat on the filthy floor while boots stomp past your head. If you're lucky, it ends with bruises and a bloody lip. If not, you might wake up in a back alley with your pockets turned inside out. Or not wake up at all. And the sheriff, he's either asleep, drunk, or part of the game. Justice here comes fast and it's rarely fair. You stagger out hours later, shirt torn, breath short, stomach sour. You don't remember how many drinks you had. You don't remember what you said. All you know is that something in you feels heavier, like the dust finally sank in. And the worst part, you'll be back, because there's nowhere else to go. No home waiting, no clean bed, just a string of tomorrows that all end in rooms like this one. With the piano too loud, the whiskey too strong, and your dreams bleeding out under flickering lamplight. Burying the dead, graves, guilt, and the loneliness that never leaves it, doesn't happen in a blaze of glory, not like in the stories. There's no heroic stand, no slow-motion duel under a bleeding sunset. Just a sharp sound, a stumble, a stillness, and then the waiting starts. He's dead. Maybe he was your friend. Maybe you barely knew his name. Doesn't matter now. He's gone and someone has to dig. You've never held a shovel heavier than when you're using it to carve a place for someone's bones. The dirt is hard, dry, packed by sun and hooves and time. You sweat through your shirt in minutes. No one speaks. The others just keep digging, coughing now and then, wiping their faces with sleeves stained in things you don't want to name. You glance at the body, wrapped in a blanket, or just laid out, hands folded like he's praying to be left alone. Sometimes there's a marker, a stick, a stone, something to say he was here. But most times there's not even that. The ground covers him, and the world forgets. You don't. Not that night. Not ever. You lie in your bedroll after the burial, eyes open to the stars, wondering if he's watching, wondering if there's something after, wondering if that shot was meant for you instead. And the guilt, it creeps in. Could you have stopped it? Said something? Done something? The question gnaws at you like a rat chewing through a floorboard. Quiet, relentless. Sometimes you bury strangers. Other times you bury pieces of yourself. The kid you used to be. The man you thought you might become. Dreams you carried like saddlebags until they rotted through and spilled into the dust. And you keep going. Because out here, grief doesn't get a day off. The herd still needs moving. The fence still needs mending. The storm's still coming. You ride on, boots in the stirrups, face to the wind, with a fresh scar somewhere behind your ribs. But the graves stay, unmarked, scattered, known only to the coyotes and the wind. Little humps in the earth that say, someone once lived here, and now they don't. Snakebite and desperation. What happens when medicine runs out? You don't see the snake. That's how it always happens. The sun's dipping low, casting long shadows. You step off your horse, brush past a rock, and feel it. A white, hot jab just above your boot. You freeze, then the pain hits. Your leg flares with fire. You stumble back, hands shaking, eyes scanning for what just happened. There it is, coiled and already sliding away, disappearing like it never existed. But its work is done. You've been bitten, and out here, that's a death sentence. There's no doctor riding in from town, no antiseptic, no syringe, just the old stories. Heat the knife, cut the wound, suck out the venom. None of it works, not really. But you try anyway, or someone else does, with shaky hands and a face drained white with fear. Your skin goes cold, then hot. Your mouth tastes like copper. You vomit. You sweat through everything. Time stretches, warps. You lie on the ground, staring at the sky like it's drifting further away with every breath. Someone rides for help, but help is 3 days away, maybe 5, and you won't last one. So they sit beside you, because that's all they can do. A blanket over your chest, water dripped between cracked lips, a prayer whispered even by men who never learned to believe. You think about all the things you haven't done. You think about your mother, or the girl you left back east, or the river you once said you'd return to. You think about the horse that might outlive you, the saddle that'll be passed to someone else. You think about the snake, silent, fast, gone, and you wonder if anyone will bury you. Sometimes you survive, barely, legs swollen, fever lasting for days. You lose time, maybe even a toe, or worse, but most don't. The land takes what it wants. And medicine? Medicine is just a word out here. So now, every step you take is a gamble, every shadow in the grass, every rustle in the brush. You check your boots twice, you sleep with one eye open, you ride with dread tucked just under your ribs, because the next bite might not give you time to pray. The final ride, when the frontier breaks you for good. You wake before the sun, your back aches from the hard ground, your breath fogs in the crisp morning air. The fires burn to ash, and the embers give no warmth. You saddle up, fingers stiff, bones tired, the trail's waiting. It always is. But something's different today. You feel it, like the weight of the sky pressing just a little heavier on your shoulders, like the wind knows something you don't. You ride out anyway. The horse beneath you is more familiar than your own reflection. You don't talk to it, not really, but it knows you. It feels your silence. It moves with you, as if you're one being, not two. And for a moment, as hooves beat against dry earth, the world feels still. But the quiet doesn't last. Storm clouds gather where none should be. The trail narrows, then vanishes. A canyon wall blocks your path. Or maybe it's just your mind hitting a wall you didn't know was there. You've been riding too long, seen too much, buried too many. Your hands tremble now when they reach for the reins. Your eyes blur not from dust, but from something deeper, something cracked wide open inside you. This land doesn't care. It doesn't care about your past, your plans, your pain. It just is. Brutal, beautiful, indifferent. You remember the first time you rode out, bright-eyed, reckless, thinking the West was freedom, open skies and endless chances. You didn't know yet how much it would cost, how much it would take, how it would hollow you out and leave something quiet in your place. You crest a ridge and look down at the land stretched out like old leather, brown, cracked, silent. It feels final, like a book closing on its last page. You breathe in the dry wind and wonder if this is the last ride, the one you don't return from. No shootout, no blaze of glory, just fading. Your story won't be sung in a saloon, no ballad, no legend. Maybe someone finds your saddle one day, or your name scratched on a stone. Maybe not. But you were here. You rode. You endured. And in a place where the land eats men alive, that alone meant something. And that's the end of the trail. If you've made it this far, you've done what few could. You've survived a day in the dust, the grit, the blood, and the silence of the frontier. But let's be honest, you probably wouldn't have made it past sunrise. Not because you're weak, but because no one was ready for the raw truth of the West. Not even the ones who lived it. There were no heroes out here. Just tired men, cracked leather boots, and 1,000 quiet goodbyes that never made it into history books. The cowboy was not a legend. He was a worker, a wanderer, a man with too many ghosts and not enough water. And now, as you ease back into the comfort of your world, soft pillows, warm light, a full stomach, maybe let a little bit of that silence stay with you. Let it settle behind your ribs like dust in a saddlebag. Let it remind you that somewhere long ago, someone just like you braved the wild and most didn't make it out. If this ride brought you a little peace tonight, if it helped you drift or just helped you think, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories from the edges of history. And in the comments, tell me, what time is it where you are, and how far did you make it before sleep found you? Wherever you are. Good night, cowboy, rest easy, you're safe now.